It sounds simple, doesn't it? Accept yourself. But Jung wasn't talking about affirmations in the mirror. He wasn't talking about liking your smile or your story or even your sadness. He was talking about something much harder, much deeper. He was talking about accepting the parts of you you hope no one ever sees. The jealousy, the rage, the need to be right, the urge to control, the memories you pretend never happened, the versions of you you've spent a lifetime exiling. To accept yourself completely means to walk into the room where you've locked those parts away and not flinch. It means to sit across from your own shadow and say, "I see you, and I will not turn away." This isn't a feel-good slogan. This is inner revolution. And for many of us, it's far more terrifying than being rejected by others, because it means we can no longer reject ourselves. Today, we begin a different kind of healing. Not one that makes you better, but one that makes you whole. The illusion of the good self. We all build a version of ourselves we think the world will love. We learn early what makes us likable, what gets praised, what gets punished. And so we edit. We quiet the parts of us that feel too loud. We bury the emotions that make others uncomfortable. We become nice. We become good. We become exactly what we think they want. But beneath that carefully constructed image, another self waits. It watches you perform. It watches you say yes when you want to scream no. It watches you smile when something inside you aches. It watches and it remembers. This self is messy. It's emotional. It's contradictory. It holds your anger, your desire, your wildness, your shame. And over time, the more you try to erase it, the more it finds other ways to appear. In resentment, in exhaustion, in sudden, unexplained outbursts, in dreams you don't understand. Jung called this the shadow, the part of you you disown in order to survive, but that never truly disappears. And the great illusion is this: you think you're becoming better by denying it, but what you're really becoming is divided. What if goodness isn't the absence of darkness, but the willingness to face it with honesty and grace? What you bury doesn't die. You can hide from others. You can even hide from yourself for a while, but the shadow never stays buried forever. What you repress doesn't vanish. It transforms. It disguises itself. And then it begins to act out from behind the scenes. You try to stay calm, but the anger you never voiced leaks out in sarcasm, in bitterness, in quiet punishment. You try to be supportive, but the envy you pretend not to feel starts to poison your relationships. You try to be in control, but the fear you refuse to name leads you to manipulate, withdraw, or sabotage. The shadow is not evil. It's simply everything in you that has been unloved, unseen, unspoken. And like any child who's been ignored too long, it starts to misbehave. Not because it wants to hurt you, but because it wants to be held. Jung understood this deeply. What you resist not only persists, it grows. The more you deny the shadow, the more power it has over you. And the moment you begin to acknowledge it, not fix it, not shame it, just see it, something changes. You stop being ruled by what you refuse to admit, and you begin the slow, sacred work of becoming whole. The courage to look inward. We live in a world obsessed with improvement. Fix your habits, fix your mindset, fix your past, fix your future. But Jung wasn't interested in fixing people. He was interested in freeing them from the war inside themselves. Because what most of us call self-improvement is actually self-rejection in disguise. We want to become someone we can accept, without ever learning how to accept who we already are. But healing doesn't begin when you become better. It begins the moment you stop running. The moment you sit still, turn inward, and ask, what have I been afraid to face in myself? That's where the courage lives. Not in pretending to be unshaken, but in being honest about where you still tremble. To look inward is to walk into a room without light, and trust that what's waiting in the dark is not your enemy, but a forgotten part of your own soul. It's not a pleasant journey. It's not Instagrammable. There are no instant affirmations here. Only quiet truth. Only raw recognition. But with it comes something rare. A kind of peace that doesn't depend on being perfect, only on being real. Integration versus perfection. Most people are chasing perfection, the perfect version of themselves, flawless, healed, enlightened, always calm, always kind. But Jung didn't believe in perfection. He believed in integration. And there's a profound difference. Perfection says, cut out the parts of you that are messy. Integration says, bring those parts into the light. Perfection demands control. It's brittle, fragile, always afraid of being exposed. Integration invites complexity. It's rooted, resilient, unafraid of contradiction. To be perfect, you have to hide. To be whole, you have to be seen fully. Jung's work wasn't about making people pure. It was about helping them become real. Because only when you bring your shadow into awareness can you stop acting it out unconsciously. Only when you embrace your contradictions can you stop being split in half by them. You don't need to become someone else to be worthy. You need to become more fully yourself. That doesn't mean indulging every impulse. It means recognizing every impulse so it no longer owns you. You are not meant to be perfect. You are meant to be honest. You are meant to be whole. And wholeness isn't clean. It's raw. It's alive. It holds everything. The light, the dark, the questions, the longing, the anger, the grace. Not to control them, but to live from them, consciously and courageously. What acceptance actually looks like. Acceptance is not a feeling. It's not a moment of bliss or a sudden wave of self-love that washes all your pain away. Acceptance is a decision, a quiet, daily decision to stop fighting the parts of you don't like. It's waking up and saying, I don't need to erase this to be worthy. It's looking in the mirror and not flinching when the old shame rises. It's noticing jealousy and not pretending it's not there. It's watching anger tighten your chest and choosing not to bury it under a fake smile. Acceptance doesn't mean acting on every emotion. It means owning them without letting them own you. It means speaking to your inner critic, not with punishment, but with curiosity. It means holding the part of you that lashes out and asking, what are you trying to protect? It means realizing that the ugliest thoughts are often old wounds speaking in disguise. And instead of banishing them, you sit beside them, not to justify, not to glorify, but to listen, to understand, to integrate. Because what you accept, you reclaim. And what you reclaim no longer controls you from the shadows. Acceptance looks less like peace and more like quiet resilience. It's messy. It's repetitive. It takes time. But each time you choose to include what you used to exile, you become less at war and more at home. Inner dialogue, meeting the shadow at eye level. Close your eyes. Think of a version of yourself you've tried to forget. A moment you're not proud of. A reaction that surprised you. A thought that made you wonder if something inside you was broken. Now ask, gently, what part of me was speaking in that moment? Was it fear? Was it pain? Was it a younger self still trying to be heard? Let that part speak, not to justify, not to excuse, just to be seen. Imagine sitting across from your shadow, not a monster, but a mirror. It looks like you, but less polished, more honest. It carries your grief, your anger, your hunger for control, your longing to be chosen. You've avoided it for years, but now you just sit, you breathe, and you say, "I'm not here to fight you anymore." That's it. You don't have to analyze. You don't have to fix. You just have to be willing to meet the part of yourself you feared the most and stay. The moment you do, something shifts. The shadow doesn't disappear, but it stops trying to get your attention through sabotage. It begins instead to trust you. And trust, between you and yourself, is the beginning of peace. Mini story. The moment someone chose wholeness over image. Her name was Anna. From the outside, she had it all. A stable job, a quiet smile, an Instagram full of curated sunsets and thoughtful captions. But inside, there was a storm. Anna had spent most of her life being the good one, the one who kept the peace, who said the right things, who never asked for too much. But there were parts of her she never let breathe. Her resentment, her exhaustion, her longing to scream in a world that only praised her silence. It started with a breakdown, a panic attack in the middle of a perfectly ordinary afternoon. Nothing caused it, and yet everything did. She didn't post about it. She didn't tell anyone for weeks, but something inside her cracked. And for the first time, she didn't rush to glue it back together. She started journaling without filters. She started saying no, even when her voice shook. She started therapy. And in one session, her therapist said, "You're not broken. You're just tired of being only one version of yourself." That sentence stayed with her, because wholeness wasn't about fixing what she hated. It was about embracing what she had abandoned. Today, Anna still has the same job, still posts her sunsets, but she also speaks more truth, laughs louder, cries without shame. And when people ask her how she changed, she doesn't say she healed. She says, "I stopped pretending I was only light, and I learned to love my shadows too." That was the moment her life stopped being performance and started becoming real. Why is it terrifying? Because once you stop pretending, you lose the safety of the performance. Because once you say, "Yes, this is who I am," not just the light, but the mess, you can't hide behind the image anymore. But what's on the other side of that fear is something rare, something honest, something holy. When you accept yourself completely, you don't become perfect. You become real. You stop chasing approval and start building trust with yourself. You stop battling your emotions and start listening to what they've been trying to tell you for years. You stop running and start returning to the version of you that has been waiting beneath the masks, beneath the noise, beneath the shame. Shadow work isn't about becoming better. It's about becoming whole. And wholeness is not the absence of darkness. It is the presence of light that no longer fears what lives beside it. So if you are carrying pieces of yourself you've tried to exile, if there are parts of you you've only met through guilt or silence, bring them home. Sit with them, speak with them, and say, "You are part of me, and I am no longer afraid of knowing who I really am." This is not the end of your healing. It's the beginning of your return.